Joining me now via Skype to discuss the fragility of the Nigerian economy and its ability to service debt and sustain economic growth, I have with me public finance and policy analyst Olusegun Elemo. Good to have you on the Breakfast Show today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Now, the fragility of the Nigerian economy once again is heightened by the second wave of the COVID-19. We cannot necessarily place a figure or how much of an impact we've seen so far, since we're still gathering information. But so many economies across the globe are hinging their recovery on the deployment of vaccines. Now, in the best and worst case scenarios, what's your forecast for Nigeria?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think that, like you said, countries are hinging their recovery on the rollout of the vaccines. And we're seeing, first world countries now deploying and administering the vaccines, even though it's on a slow pace. But for Nigeria, it's that it's going to be a little bit challenging for us here. Number one, because you will agree with me that our health practitioners were not directly involved in the development of the vaccine. As such, it's going to be a little bit challenging in the deployment and delivery of the vaccine, whether to Nigeria or to the rest of Africa. But what's important, I think that the government is also doing is, for instance, now taking strict measures on non-pharmaceutical interventions, like the issue about, mask wearing and the likes. But it's important to quickly case up vaccination. And I know that the government is thinking about, and that's subject to feasibility anyway, thinking about 70% between 2021 and 2022. Whether the government is able to afford that amount of vaccine is another issue entirely. As you mentioned in your opening statement, we're struggling with debt crisis right now. And also looking at, providing funding for the 2021 budget. And I think the Honorable Minister of Finance will be making a presentation much later today with regards to that.
And once again, would you say Nigeria is exposing itself to shocks that it cannot necessarily deal with? Because first and foremost, during the first wave of the COVID-19, due to restrictions and then slower recovery, we had a lull in terms of oil prices. That was the first shock Nigeria had to deal with, which was well over its powers. Now, with the rollout of vaccines, once again, we are left to whatever happens on the international community, and then the feedback gets back to us. How now does the Nigerian government prep itself up ahead of any shock on the international community, from the international community, to ensure that we have the stability that we can still sustain the economy and then address issues locally?
I think we have to be honest with ourselves. It's really going to be challenging. NCDC, the numbers from NCDC, it's going high and high by the day. And states now are beginning to agree that the second wave is posing a lot more risk than we had in the first wave of the virus. So what I think that the government should do, or now should be thinking about, is to perhaps provide, incentivize the use of non-pharmaceutical interventions, and to really, take responsibility. And, the leadership also have to be responsible in this regard. Yes, some states, like Lagos State, are taking this thing very seriously, but there are many other states, that aren't taking it very seriously. And you see, there's still lots of gathering happening here and there. And if we continue to allow those gatherings to happen, the implications are that, yes, it will be difficult for us to procure the vaccines. It will even be difficult for us to store the vaccine, even when we procure or get the vaccines delivered. And then even the administration logistics of the vaccine is another issue entirely. So when you look at all of these things all together, whether we have the infrastructure and the manpower and the logistics to be able to to deploy this vaccine, even when we get it. I also understand that there are some organizations that are willing to provide some interventions for countries like Africa and other low and medium middle income countries, like Nigeria. So So we're expecting that some of that intervention will help in covering the cost for the vaccine. But that will not be sufficient to put the country and the economy on the path of growth. And what the implication would be for us as a country is that it will slow down the movement of people from Nigeria. It will slow down also the activities of trade from Nigeria and the rest of Africa. And we really need to be concerned about that.
Now, better late than never is the sentiment that welcomes a whole lot of interventions we've seen from government, especially at this point in time, especially for key sectors of the economy. Now, to sustain any sort of recovery or even stimulate any at all at this point in time, we also have to look at how well the government can really support in terms of funding, looking at the size of our banks and the threshold to maintain liquidity as well and lending to the real sectors of the economy. We've also had cautions from the World Bank and International Monetary Fund. We've had a whole lot of red flags being raised now. Do you think the Nigerian budget for the year 2021 can really stimulate any sort of growth with the way we have quite a huge funding deficit currently in the spending plan?
Yeah, I expect that there will be some stimulation. I know that the federal government is looking everywhere for money, looking at unclaimed dividends, looking at dormant accounts, and looking at a lot of and those are issues, legality around some of that, legality issues around some of these areas that the government is looking to draw funds from. So, but I expect that there will be some stimulation. I also heard the Director General of the Budget Office recently, talking about how the 2020 budget performed to the third quarter of 2020, and we're expecting the numbers for the fourth quarter. I understand that. I mean, we had significant performance with regards to releases of funds, but the issue here now is how do we whatever we get. And also there's been some slight climb up on the crude oil price. So that, and we expect that as the vaccination rollout increases across the world, we expect some form of stimulation in trade.
Well, thank you very much for your time on The Breakfast Show so far today. We've been speaking with public finance analyst Olusegun Elemo. This is